Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our backstage event. We are exploring the best online MBA programs on the planet. And for this session, we have three terrific schools, three great programs, three representatives of those programs. We have Carnegie Mellon University's Tepper School of Business, the University of Washington's Foster School of Business, and Indiana University's Kelley School of Business. From Tepper, we have J.R. McGrath, the Executive Director of Master's Admissions. From Washington Foster, we have Jody Farwell, the Program Director of the Hybrid MBA. And from Indiana Kelley, we have Tim Byrne, the Director of Admissions and Financial Aid. No relationship to me, although we do spell our last name exactly the same. So we both must have Irish blood in us.
Absolutely.
So welcome, everybody. It's good to see the three of you here, nice and cheery. I'm on the West Coast, so it's a little early for me, but I'm glad to be here. Let's just start with, real basics on your online program and the school. Give me a general introduction of the school, its mission, its values, its reputation, and how its online MBA program fits into the school's approach and philosophy to graduate education. Tim, since you're my namesake, I'm going to start with you.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. It's always fun to make sure that name gets butchered up a little bit. So this has been great.
Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie's. Yeah. Anyway, I'm from Indiana Kelley, and the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University is really a hallmark school of our university and a great opportunity where we bring in tons of students from all over the country here to our residential campus in Bloomington. But our online MBA program has actually been around since 1999. So it's a real proud element of our school that we've been very forward thinking for a long time in bringing this program around. Now, in 1999, as our dean will tell you, it was pretty technologically limited. There was sort of chat functions, and that was about it. So we've grown a lot since then, and we're all using incredible technology today. But I think it's a real point for our school to be very forward thinking and having been part of providing new opportunities and new methods and modalities to students, that it's a big focus for us. So we're really excited to be here and talk about all of our programs and the ways that we sort of stand out and provide great opportunities to students as well.
And I'm going to tell everyone, as we get into our discussion, here's what you're going to find. An online program is not an online MBA program. In other words, they're not interchangeable. Online programs have lots of different features, and you're going to see how one differs greatly from the other and which approach you might most benefit from. Jody, tell us a bit about Washington Foster.
You bet. At Foster, we have something we call a North Star, and our North Star is simply to develop leaders who strive to better community and humanity. And our program definitely believes that. We recruit and admit students who value the we greater than me mentality. It matters to us very much. Our program, so much so that we've created this year a new social impact scholarship for incoming students that we're very excited about. That literally represents students that walk and talk those values of bettering their community and humanity. So we're super duper proud of that. The program's been around for let's see, we're starting our sixth cohort, so we've been around 6 years, and we have 4 alumni classes. We're one of 5 MBAs here at the Foster School. We're the only online, so to speak, hybrid program. So that our claim to fame is that we get to have students that come from all over the United States and Canada now. We have a couple of students from Canada we're excited about. And so that's a really neat to bring students into the Foster programs that are growing and learning and becoming leaders all across the United States is a huge value for us.
Great. JR, how about Carnegie Mellon?
Thanks, John. I'll start by saying everything that my two colleagues have already mentioned resonates with all of us. And in particular here at Tepper, I guess our guiding star would be the intersection of business, technology, and innovation. So how are things evolving over time, and how do we continue to prepare our students for the future that is yet defined, and try to make them as much future prepared as possible. We started our program back in 2013. So maybe not as early as Indiana Kelley, but feel like, over time, once you're doing things that long, you start to refine and iterate, and you really get to kind of hit your stride to make sure that your program is evolving with those student needs. In particular for us, one thing that we really try to bring forward are two aspects. We want to be data informed. I think all of us in MBA programs talk about that piece quite a bit, but in particular, the human driven. Any piece of data really needs to be interpreted and having that context of how it can be applied and be most impactful. And I think that's where we focus our education, is making sure that you can be comfortable in that data rich environment, but you're able to really be that manager and be able to drive these ideas forward and getting buy-in for your overall company and business. So excited to chat with you all today.
Great. Now, JR, of the 3 online or blended programs that we have here on the panel, yours is the longest, 3 years, and yours requires the most face time in person. So tell us a little bit about the design of the program. We know it's 3 years long, which I think, as far as I know, it's the longest blended or hybrid MBA program in the world. Why'd you make it so long?
Jonathan, it's a phenomenal question. And I think this is, as you said earlier, right? Like, everybody has their unique view on how to do this. And this is just our view. We really wanted to start with, we have one MBA program offered in multiple modalities. So we didn't want to create a program that was going to really differ in some of those things that we feel like are just fundamental to an MBA degree. And that's why when we looked at our curriculum, while sometimes it's delivered in a little bit different fashion, it's the same curriculum. So we wanted to make sure everybody going out in that market, the market could feel confident that any MBA that you get from Tepper is the same MBA. The other piece, and this is probably as you already alluded to, right? Like, we have more face time than any other program. We felt like that connection with your classmates, connection with your professors, the staff, alumni, et cetera, and having those opportunities to do so in more of an in-person modality was very important, and we didn't want to deviate too far from that. So we have created something called Access Weekends that provides that opportunity. I will tell you that just with anything, we try to iterate. So there's some big changes coming with those, and some things that are very exciting that we've gotten feedback from our students, our alumni, our professors, companies, et cetera, to really make those experiences that much more impactful. So hopefully that will be out very soon, but I can probably talk about it in generalities today.
Let's get a little specific on that. How many days during the course of that 3-year program will people actually sit face to face?
Sure. So as of right now, the program has 6 access weekends a year for the first 2 years, and then there's 4 in that 3rd year. So we're talking 18 times together. Moving forward, all of those will not be in person, but there will still be some remote options. And in particular, this is us expanding on what those experiences are during those access weekends. And feedback from students, because as everyone just talked about, and Tim had said, right, when we started online MBA programs, the technology in that learning environment was not nearly as robust as it is now. So we're actually going to interchange some of those in-class experiences for some of those developmental opportunities that our students are just vying for and really want more of. So our time together is going to become that much more dynamic and kind of lead into what our students, as well as our second consumer, our companies, are looking for.
Great. Jody, give us a sense of the length of your program. What kind of flexibility is there? In other words, can it be extended? Can it be shortened? And what's the rhythm of the program? It's a hybrid program as well.
You bet. Yeah. And that's super interesting, JR, because as you talk about people being more face-to-face, where a lot of programs, they're turning more online. So, and I'm like you, I think that we value the face-to-face component so much, and realized during COVID, when we lost it, how darn important it was, right, for building those connections with faculty and the students, and as well as the staff. So I'm with you there. Our program is a 2-year program. So it's 21 months. We take summers off between the 2 years for students to reconnect with family, loved ones, that kind of thing, and just take a break and rest. We have quarterly immersions, so we meet together for 4 to 5 days at the beginning of each quarter. So that's 3 times a year. And then the second year we do 3 times, plus then they come back in person for their capstone. So we're together total, John, about 15 days, and each year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but boy, when we lost those 15 days to COVID, it really made a huge impact on team development and all of that. Our program is 62 credits. We have 50 core credits and 12 elective credits. The students, when they come to campus for those 4 or 5 days, are in class. We eat meals together. It's an intense 4 or 5 days. We do professional development, all that career management stuff while we're together, plus some social networking with the alumni, other students here at Foster, the MBA students. And then they all leave, drive, fly, go back to wherever they're from. And they meet weekly on Zoom with their professors in their classes. Usually Tuesdays and Wednesday evenings, and have review sessions on Thursdays. So there's a lot of contact there, and then of course participate, with the professional instructional videos and course content that we have in the courses. So, yeah.
Can a student extend the amount of time from 21 months to longer if they want to take a shorter? No, it's a cohort.
Yeah, it's a lockstep cohort model. So the students take all their classes together each quarter. So if you're going to take accounting with Wei Li, you're doing that in the fall. And if a student needs to sit out a year, they would have to come back the following year and start up again. So yeah, it's not, we're not flexible in that sense, right? Our model is very much, and we tell students as they come in, our model is very much, our goal is to get you graduated in 2 years, period. Right. And so it's team-based lockstep to get you through that, because it is a pretty rigorous program. And so for students that want that, we've got a structure to get you through it in 2 years. It's a perfect program for you. If you're looking for a program that that, boy, that quarter you're only going to want to take 1 class, and then the next quarter you'll take 3 classes. Yeah, we're not the program for you.
Great. Tim, give us the roll down on the Kelley Direct Online MBA.
Yeah, so our online MBA, I think, kind of splits the difference here between some of my colleagues a little bit. We're about 2.5 years, 2.25 years for students to complete the program. We have 2 in residences, one that's really sort of starts with you at the beginning of your time in the program, and then another about sort of halfway through or towards the back end. And each of those are intensive week-long sessions. So we try to pack in as much time. I tell students, they say like, oh, can I bring my family and friends? And maybe, but you're not going to have any time. We're building in networking sessions. You're meeting with career coaches. You're doing faculty coaching. You're actually doing a client case competition. So you're doing all kinds of stuff during that time. So we really try to make the most out of that time that students are with us. Overall in the program, I think, much like my colleagues have mentioned too, we're really putting the student learning experience first. And so that does mean there's some times where we've limited some flexibility. So I really talk to students about our program being a first year, very foundational and very much structured. We have these integrated cores that we utilize to build your foundational skills throughout that first year. And that kind of happens in lockstep. So you can't really kind of delay that out. But the second half, where we really dive more into all of our elective options and our different specializations and things like our global immersions, that's where the opportunity for a little bit more flexibility comes for students to maybe stretch out into a 3rd year or something, maybe only take 1 course, maybe take a term off if that's what works best for you. But it's about building that foundation first. And I think we take a lot of that, very thoughtfully with our faculty, planning those things in mind for the student. So that way you're building those strong skills. And then as you kind of need to later on, perhaps you can make that flexibility an option for you. But really centering the student experience at the core of what we do has been how we've really designed our curriculum and how we design our entire programming and student experience.
And I know a few years ago, you revamped the online MBA curriculum to allow for more choice So now roughly half of the coursework is in electives. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's exactly half. 50% is structured required courses, the other 50% total electives. So our students can take a wide breadth. We have 7 different sort of majors and areas. So you can deep dive into business analytics if that's what you're passionate about, that's what you want to build in. Or if you want to intermix, you want to take a little bit of finance, you want to take some supply chain, you want to broaden everything, that's totally an option too. And actually, that's what most of our students do as well. They find that there's lots of different faculty they're able to get connected with, lots of different topics they want to learn. And so it's really great opportunity for them to sort of dabble in different areas that, may be up and coming, maybe really emerging issues in the world of business. And so it's a really great option for our students to have that flexibility in the second half of the program.
Great. And Jody, what's the breakdown between required and elective courses in your program?
Yeah, so 50 core courses we have that are required that they take the first year. Then the second year they have some required courses, but that's where they have 12 elective credits that they take the second year. And that's where, and we're team-based. So in the core courses, they're assigned to a team for the 2 years, the same 4 or 5 people. But then when they get to the elective courses, of course, because everybody picks different electives, that's their opportunity to really get to know other classmates and cohort members. So yeah.
Great. And JR, at Tepper, what's the breakdown between what's required and what's elective?
Absolutely. So we're right in that 50-50 mark as well. So when you look at it, it is 15 core courses, 15 electives, but then there's also a capstone course that is on top of that. So students are really able to, as others had said, customize that curriculum, get things that they're very interested in within that curriculum.
There are 2 words in the online space that are used very commonly for someone who doesn't know anything about online education. They may be words that mystify people. And those words are synchronous and asynchronous. Can you shed some light on this and tell us how much of your program is asynchronous versus synchronous? JR?
Sure. So, in our program, twice a week, you are going to be live on camera with your professors, with your classmates. Leading into that, there will be the material that is that on-demand material. What's always interesting is we have these conversations with our professors and faculties and everyone else. What's always interesting is the comment is our part-time students seem to be more prepared than maybe some other students. And I think it's because you have this ability to have both of those types of content. So I would say, if you don't count the access weekends in class, it's about half and half. When you count in that access weekend, there's a good portion of that time that is live in person with your classmates and professors.
Right. What's the breakdown, Jody, at Foster?
Yeah, we say about 95%, 5%. But it's very similar. So like I said, we're together in person 15 days a year, and then they have Zoom sessions where they're in class face to face with professors in their cohorts twice a week or so, and then the rest of it's online.
Okay. And Tim?
Yeah, we're pretty similar, right about half. Basically, for every class you take, there's one weekly live session that we always say attendance is expected, not quite required, but we really want to make sure we have an engaging live class. And then the rest of that time would be asynchronous learning, where maybe you're watching some videos or working through other material, doing readings, other things, to still engage with the class and on your own time.
That's great. Now, I know that there are some programs that have unlimited number of students in weekly internet classes. In your cases, all 3, I believe you limit the class size. At Kelley, I think the limit is 45, right?
Yep.
What is the limit at Foster? What's the limit at Tepper for an internet class?
Yeah, so our cohort sizes range from about 70 to 90, depending on the year. And we break them up into 2. So when they're here face to face, they're all 80 of them or whatever are in a classroom with a professor for their classes in person. Then we break up, we call them Foster Lives, our Zoom sessions, our weekly Zoom sessions. So when we do Foster Lives, we break them into 2 groups. So it's about 40-40. And that just allows the professors to engage more with the students and learn their names, be able to make sure that every student gets some voice time. And we call it Foster Life Session A, Foster Life Session B. So the professor will teach an hour and a half or so of the class, and then the next students come in on Zoom and he'll do it again. So yeah.
Great. JR?
Yeah, absolutely. So almost the same. So we usually bring in, we'll call it about 110 students, give or take few above or below. We have 3 sections of class for each class. And that's mostly to make sure that we can hit a good time for both East Coast, Midwest, West Coast students. So typically you get that first option of choosing the class time that makes the most sense for you. So on average about, probably about mid-30s are each class on average, but that can kind of go up or down based on how many students are from which region.
Right. I'll just ask this generally. Is there any evidence that online learning is better than face-to-face learning, or is it merely different? Who wants to talk about that? I mean, one argument about online learning is that you can always replay the tape, right? So when trying to absorb a difficult or complicated concept, there is some benefit into just basically, even in a live internet class, those are recorded and made available to the students. Yeah. So you can have a round 2, a round 3 to increase your understanding of a difficult concept. Obviously, face-to-face, you cannot do that. It's one time or never. But does that make it better? I mean, is there any research out there that shows that learners actually learn better online than they do in person? Is there any?
Tim,
yeah, John, sorry, go ahead, Jody.
No, you go.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think the research is a little bit intermixed, I guess, is maybe the best word, because I think you were leading down this path about it is different, but who it's better for, I think, plays a very big role. If I'm a person that maybe has a disability, is a little bit hard of hearing, I can learn way better online because I can get captioning, I can replay a video, all those things. If I'm a person that, has a commute and trying to get into a physical classroom, and now I'm suspect to missing a class because of a traffic jam, that's maybe not a great learning environment for me as that person. So I think the environment is perhaps more about fit and how students excel in that. And so, one of the things that we talk about, like in our program, and what I sort of briefly mentioned earlier, is that we expect attendance to happen. And so if you were a student that was looking for a program to just not engage and not be involved, then we're not really the program for you. And so I think as prospective students are out there thinking about, can I learn as well? I think you have to do a lot more introspection first about where do you learn and engage. I think now a lot of us have a lot of experience on Zoom, and if you're struggling to pay attention in meetings at work or anything else, then maybe it's not quite the best for you. But if you have the support network around you and the environment around you to succeed, there's no reason why an online program can't be absolutely just as enriching as an in-person program or an in-person experience.
Yeah, I agree with that, Tim, 100%. I do think it depends on the student. I also think that, if you've got good quality instructional designers and media specialists that are creating that content, the ability to engage with the course material in so many different ways, you don't get that necessarily in class. Right. So the value of having that, of course, in-class session where the professor's standing up there at the podium, I think that there's value in that, but to mix that with the rich engagement of that online course development, I think that, and that we've seen, I think, really grow and change and improve. I've been in online learning for about 30 years, and what a change, wow. But even just, as technology gets better and better and better, you just really see the enrichment of the content and the ability for students to engage in it, grow and grow and grow, and meet, like you said, Tim, the needs of the different students who may be visually impaired or hearing impaired, or their learning style is just different, right?
One of the things I've noticed, and Jody, since you've been in this for so long, I'm sure you've noticed this too. In the early days of online education, there was a belief that if you wanted to avail yourself of a graduate degree online, you were better off thinking about career acceleration, meaning enhancing the skills that you have in your current job to get promotions or in your current industry, and not using online education to pivot. That was one thing, and that I think has changed. More and more people are actually going into online MBA programs and hoping to pivot their career into a new discipline, a new industry, a new geography. The other issue with online education was, frankly, this sense that you had to forego a real connection with faculty and with your classmates. And I think the tools available and the hybrid nature and the on-campus opportunities have basically eliminated that concern. And when you do talk to online students, it's amazing how many say how well connected they are to both faculty and their classmates.
You know what's funny, John? I just want to share this. I don't like my students on Friday night are holding a virtual baking thing. So they come up with ways to and they share these QR codes with the recipes, and they're going to virtually bake together. So, I mean, there's all kinds, if you just think creatively, and in our case, we just let our students do that. And they come up with these wonderful ideas as part of the student council and our student groups to do these kinds of things. So engagement can occur and connection can occur and community building can occur in an online format, no doubt.
Are online students getting younger? You know, it used to be that the class profile of an online student was pretty similar to an executive MBA student with 10 or more years of work experience. But it seems to me that more and more younger people who would be in the market ordinarily for a full-time residential MBA are now taking online MBA options, in part because they can maintain their jobs and their income. They can apply what they learn in class immediately at work. So the opportunity costs are much lower. And the quality of the programs have improved greatly, partly due to technology, but also partly greater acceptance by senior faculty. Are all of you seeing that, JR?
I will say I think more and more are looking for online MBAs and having that flexibility. And I know you started into the pivot, kind of introduction earlier. So I'll kind of like maybe include it all in here is that we're seeing those that are a little bit younger have interest in it. But I think it comes down to those conversations with candidates of having them understand what are the options, what are the trade-offs if you choose certain options, or how you can essentially try to achieve those things that maybe weren't traditional to a certain format. Now I think it's up to us of can we really share those consideration points, but also are we able to adapt? So we're one of those programs, and I said it earlier, is that we're one MBA program in multiple modalities. So for us, you can seamlessly transition from a part-time student to a full-time student and vice versa. So those that are looking to make that pivot, if we have that very upfront conversation of saying, this is something that you can explore, but if you realize that you need that internship, or if you need these other things that maybe an online program typically doesn't offer, then that's something that we can explore with you. But it happens on normal timelines. You can't always, choose when an internship is offered. So I think it comes down to, can you make those right choices, but also share and have candidates make those informed choices? Because just because someone wants it a certain way doesn't mean that that's the best or easiest path, but it could be a path that could lead to success.
Right, exactly. Let's talk about differentiation. If there were three points you'd like to make about how your program is differentiated in the market from others, what would you say? Tim, let's start with you.
So I think one of the biggest things for us at Kelley that I know absolutely sets us apart, we have, I guess, navigated the difficult job of bringing in really high quality students from traditional admissions markers, from their undergraduate GPA scores and test scores and some of those things, their work experience, but we're also bringing in a really high volume of them. So Kelley is one of the largest programs that is out there, but that doesn't mean you get you're getting both the breadth to have a huge MBA network, to find peers that are maybe geographically located to you, but also in your industry and also interested in making a career pivot, all of those things. but they're also the really high quality students. And so the options for building your network at Indiana Kelley are really sort of unparalleled. And I think that's what really sets us apart. The second thing is, I think, I mentioned as we started off, right? We started our online MBA program in 1999, trying to be very innovative and forward thinking. And that's really continued through today. So this past year, we launched our brand new teaching studio. That was part of an alumni gift that was very generous in the millions of dollars. But it means that the classes that we're having now are incredibly immersive. It is not just a Zoom and somebody sort of talking at you. It is very interactive in a way to really immerse yourself in the learning experience. And then the final thing is that we're really offering an incredible breadth of electives. We talk about that as our sort of hallmark too. So the opportunity to sort of deep specialize, but also to take new elective topics. I'm really excited for our global immersions that we'll be offering next year. Lots of different sites. We have a new one we're launching into Italy, where we're going to dive into women-owned businesses, which I think is a really, really cool and exciting new area for us, and some of our women faculty that are going to be involved. So really creating those breadth of options is a hallmark of the Kelley experience.
Great. Jody, your 3 things that differentiate you from the rest of the crowd?
You bet. It was interesting when I was at the Online MBA, part-time MBA conference this year in Tulsa. That was one of the things I paid most attention to, is what differentiates us from other programs. And I do think our mandatory, 3 quarterly a year immersions is unique to us. A lot of the programs have 1 or 2 during their program, where we have 6, 7 if you include our capstone. Mm-hmm. We also have company treks, where we go to San Francisco, Portland. We just got back from Austin, Texas, where we go and engage for 2 days with walk into companies and that we've met, and our students get the opportunity to learn and talk from their leadership. So that's a big deal for us. We have in-house career services, which I was kind of surprised a lot of programs don't have. So we have our own career services team, and they do all kinds of stuff, one-on-one career coaching with our specific team, with our program students. We've created a program called Executive Essentials, where we really focus on skill building and leadership development, more so than job placement. And we're finding, as you mentioned, John, the younger students, that is one of the things I think the younger students are really coming into the program needing and wanting, is more skill development around DEI, personal branding, so emotional intelligence, all those kinds of things, how connecting with people, community building, team building. Those are the skills that we're really seeing. And to be able to have an in-house career management team that really supports, in a program that has developed that for our students, means a lot to us. And lastly, I would say we have an alumni audit program that we're super proud of, and we don't really market it a lot, but where students, as soon as they graduate, can come back once a quarter and take a class for free. So a lot of them come back and they take an elective that they just didn't get the chance to take while they were in the program. And funny enough, since we're starting our 6th cohort, we have 4 alumni classes. Now they're coming back and taking core courses that they'd already taken in accounting, finance, econ, stats, because they need a refresher. It's been a while, sure, and they've moved into a position where they need to know more about that. So that's been fun to have them come back. The faculty love having them come back. So we're super proud of that too.
That's great. JR, your differentiators.
Awesome. Thank you, John. So I know we already talked about this, but I'll say our access weekends are really, I think, very different than most other program, in particular with those, and I'll get a little bit more in depth. So what we try to have on those weekends is a day for professional development, and that is leadership workshops. Maybe that's expanding workshops or opportunities into other areas that maybe that student isn't focusing their career, but just expanding that overall knowledge and introduction into other different innovative concepts going on. And that's not just with Tepper, that's with anything going on within our university. So we truly really try to put them into our entire ecosystem, as well as some of those just networking and bonding opportunities with classmates, as well as some of those class sessions. The things that we're going to be introducing into those, we're going to be introducing a lot of career opportunities. So this is going to be those immersion in. So what would it look like if you wanted a career in technology or consulting or investment banking, et cetera? So trying to bring some of those things that maybe a full-time program takes for granted, that maybe part-time programs haven't really put as a focal point. As well as maybe hackathons, case competitions, others. Our part-time students just won a national case competition, which you very rarely see part-time students really being engaged in. And so, being able to really immerse them in those weekends. Secondly would be our analytical depth. As we all know, almost any different profession is really in, kind of in the world of there is more data than most people can utilize. But how are you going to be comfortable in that data-rich environment to be able to drive solutions forward with data-informed approaches? Lastly, leadership development. We house and employ executive coaches, not outsourced. This is their full-time job, is to specifically work with our students, have those one-on-one consultations, and create that unique leadership development plan for them. Because in every different industry, there may be some nuances that are needed from one to the other, and making sure that each student's able to drive that leadership development story for themselves. So I think those are the ways that we are a little bit different.
That's great. And I should point out to everyone out there, because, people who look at the market may think one online MBA is equal to another online MBA. I think we've proven here that even among your three, they're vastly different from each other, and in great ways, because, one approach, the 3-year approach with the access weekends may be ideal for one person and may not be for another person. So this is what's beautiful about it. But one thing that I think that links all 3 programs together is this. These are fully featured online MBAs. Jody, you made a point of going to that conference and was surprised by the lack of career support in many online MBA programs. Well, let me just tell you, everyone out there, price matters. So when you pay more for an online MBA, you not only get brand, a reputation, and value, you get a more fully featured program that has coaching, that takes career development seriously, that may give you more choice, better faculty. So when you're looking at one program versus another and you see price disparities, it's important to note that the really inexpensive ones, you're not going to be doing global immersions, you're not going to be doing weekend face-to-face courses, your selection is going to be limited, you're not going to have an assigned coach to you to help you with your career decisions, and use your education to your great benefit. So these are all things to take into consideration when you're choosing an online MBA program. And that's what all 3 of your programs share. You're fully featured. You're trying to bring essentially the great elements of a full-time residential program and deliver them to an online hybrid program, which cannot be said in many others. In fact, many of the cheap online MBA programs don't even have weekly internet classes. It's all online, and you have no office hours with faculty, nothing. Or they're taught by adjuncts that are not connected to the actual business school. So it's important to be a really smart shopper here and see these differences, notice them, understand them, and realize why the price points can be very different in this field. I want to start with you, JR, because you had mentioned that change is afoot in your program. That feedback from faculty and students is going to result in some changes in your program. And I know you want to be incredibly vague about this right now because you don't want to blow your announcement. But I wonder if you might just talk a little about how do you think your online MBA program is going to evolve over the next 5 years?
Sure. And John, I think it's a great question, and you're right. It's not so much about the unveil, but it's about making sure that when we say something, that if someone gets really piqued interest in it, they can go in and find the details of it, and not just think that it's a tagline. In terms of the next 5 years, I think all the things that we were in a way discussing earlier and some of the questions that you had, the people that are starting to look at online degrees or their expectations of what does that classroom look like or the benefits of the program, I think are changing. And as we all know, and I hate to say the cliche thing of that, the pandemic has accelerated some of those things. People's preferences in terms of their balance of work and personal time and benefits they want to see from companies as well as from programs in schools, that has been evolving very quickly. So how do you always try to stay at least in line, if not possibly ahead of that in terms of what you offer. So I think it goes to how can we develop our program to essentially meet the needs of students that want to be able to have more career exploration while in a part-time program. And I think this is a big one, because I think we all alluded to this, but maybe didn't really get in depth with this, is that with the evolution of technology, a lot of those core concepts within MBA classes can be done extremely well in that synchronous environment that you can go back, you can watch it, on demand. Students don't want to do that in person anymore. Even in our online program, when they get there for those access weekends, they're like, well, we could have done this very well in this. I want to be engaged. I want to be, doing all these things that are the most impactful. So how do you take that to the next level? So that way, when someone's in an online program, they feel like they got to test all of these things, like sometimes a full-time student can do in that immersive environment. How do we take that even to the next level to make sure people are leaving with an experience that they didn't even think was possible? And maybe that was vague, but we're talking about a 5-year plan. It's more of, what are those things that we can develop that makes them feel like my time and money was well spent?
Right.
So more to come.
Great. Jody, what's more to come at Foster?
Yeah, I think experiential learning. It's all I hear. Everywhere I go, It's all I hear. It's been talked a lot about at the conferences I go to. I hear it from the students. I'm hearing it more and more from other programs. And the interesting thing, I think a lot of the programs are doing it. We're doing it too. We just haven't labeled it that. We have lots of opportunities and touch points for students to engage in real world company situations, problems, and provide feedback for that. I just think the demand for that's going to be greater, and I think it's going to change the curriculum quite a bit. I think faculty are going to have to realize that, pulling up a Harvard case review is not the way that students want to engage with material. I think if a faculty member comes in with a case that, even though it was real, but it's 3 years ago, I don't think students are going to want to fully engage with that. They want, like you said, JR, they want to have an impact. They want to be able to, they want to flex those muscles. And I think take what they're learning today and make real changes today, not tomorrow. So I think that's going to be a big one. I think also, like you mentioned, Jared, the expectations of students in terms of the program and what they get in it. So I think we have to keep up cutting edge technology in terms of course development and design and content development. I think if we don't, that's gonna hurt programs, especially in the online hybrid format. We have to keep up with that. So those are two areas which I think are going to be huge in the coming years.
Tim?
So I think, I oftentimes compare our world of online MBAs to the luxury car market sometimes, because I think there's a lot of parallels there. And you would talk in that say that the cup holders matter. Everything matters. The feel of the steering wheel matters. So I think for us, we're really focused on lots of the very fine details. As you mentioned earlier, John, like really important is getting career coaching and having an assigned coach, having those resources available to you is important. And now we're trying to go to the next step. Well, when and how should your coach reach out to you? Is this happening concurrently with your core foundational courses? Is it a sort of a moderated checkpoint? What does your lifetime coaching look like? How do we integrate every possible point of that student experience and make sure that it's working together? It's not just the curriculum. It is everything else that really takes the value of your program, the value of your degree, the value of your network to the next level. And I think that's really where our future is going, and where we're at, and I know my colleagues are too, is finding all of the details and making sure that those are part of the best possible student experience too.
All good points. Well, it's been a real pleasure to spend this time with all of you. I've enjoyed it and I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience has as well. I'm just going to make a final comment that I think is obvious to anyone who's watched this webinar, which is this. Look, if you're dealing with a degree from a Carnegie Mellon, a Washington Foster, an Indiana Kelley, here's what you're going to know. They're going to be on the very tiptoes to innovate, to move this forward. The tools to teach online are improving every day. They're at a state right now where 10 years ago, we wouldn't have even imagined things that you can do online. And I can only think that in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see so much more innovation, particularly as in regards to engagement of students and assessment of students, and how you deliver powerful educational programming to people who are not in the same room with you. And when you do invest in a great university brand, they take this seriously. This is not a peripheral program to everything else they do. A lot of attention is devoted to it and tremendous amounts of investments are made in it. And I think that that's one of the things that everyone out there should really understand and know and appreciate. JR, Jody, and Tim, thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. You have a wonderful day. And for all of you out there, thanks for watching.